For leftovers, we have some Mojo pork as well as some smoked Spam. And I thought, maybe I can do a spin on the traditional Cubano. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do the Spam-Bano. I know, it's kind of cute. Anyway, so it's really simple, but let me talk you through the ingredients, okay? So we have leftover Mojo pork, and this is a recipe by Roy Choi from the Chef Show. And I take it one level further. So it's fully his recipe, and I've put a link to that recipe in the description below so that you guys can find it yourself. It is brined first and then marinated and then roasted, slow roasted. Well, I took it one level higher. I smoked it. So instead of slow roasting it in an oven, I slow roasted it on the smoker. So this is cooked to about 170. So it still holds together like a roast, not pot roast, not that tender. And then also I have my smoked Spam that I'm doing some work on. A recipe to use low sodium smoked Spam. So I smoked it, and this is left over from that test. And I've actually sliced them both very thin on a slicer. I have my own slicer. That thing is so old that they don't make it anymore. I have looked at some other ones to update it, but I've sliced it probably about 1/8 of an inch thick because I want to put a fair amount of it on this sandwich. But that's what that Mojo looks like. And then the smoked Spam looks like that. That's the two meats. So the Mojo pork is the pork in the Cubano. The Spam is the ham in the Cubano, okay? And then the other piece that I've took the smokehouse edge on is I cold smoked my own Swiss cheese. So sliced again, very thin on the smoker. Well, sliced on the slicer, but smoked on the smoker, obviously. So we have those. The other pieces to that these are pretty basic. There's usually yellow mustard, and we're gonna make what I'm calling Mojo Mayo, and using my stone ground mustard. Usually it's regular mayo. Excuse me while I wipe my hands. It's usually mayo and yellow mustard. Some people don't use mayo, some people do. We're going to flavor it with the same Mojo spices in the pork into a flavored mayonnaise, aioli, whatever you like to call it. That's pretty simple. That's actually the most complicated piece. And then it's building the sandwich and then cooking it on the panini press. This is an old Breadman, again, very old machine. They no longer make panini machines. I've got it preheating so it's ready to go, so we don't waste your time with watching my pan heat up. But it works really well for what I have, and I've probably had it for, gosh, 20 years. How often do I pull it out? Maybe 2 or 3 times a year. But when it comes to Cubano, that's usually why I'm pulling it out. Occasionally I'm doing certain grilled cheese that way, some high-end grilled cheese, ham and cheese, that kind of thing, where I want more crust on the outside. But generally I break it out for my Cubanos. So I was just chopping some fresh cilantro. This is part of the components. The other pieces to the Cubano is obviously sliced pickle. I've got some of my homemade dill pickles. You can use chips. I think the recipe states chips, but I'm gonna use long slices. And yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty simple. Butter on the outside, grill it, gets nice and crunchy, crispy, and it's so good. So let's do this. So to make the Mojo Mayo, we need, and I'm gonna eyeball this, a 1/2 cup of mayo. I had a spoon, I lost my spoon. Let me grab another one. 1/2 cup of mayo, and this should make enough for 4 sandwiches. There. Put that back there for right now. This should make enough for 4 sandwiches. And that's how much you'll get out of your bread. Now the bread, if you're lucky enough to find Cuban bread, go for it. That's the traditional one. The next choice for me is French bread. Italian's too dense, but use what you can get. You can also do it on a hoagie roll. If you want individual serving, I like to make like a big long sandwich, toast 4 at a time, and that gives each of us here one for dinner, and one extra for my son's lunches. I always try to cook one extra so he has lunches. And so basically we'll split this. You want something that's that's fairly light. This is a little heavy. It's just from Walmart. It's their French bread, so it's pretty dense. Maybe denser than I like, but it's what I could get. And then split it, and then we're gonna fill it after we get all this done and toast it on the panini press, and you'll see how nice and crunchy it gets. All right, let me give you a better view down here. How's that look? Okay, there we go. So we got our mayonnaise. We also need, excuse me while I move some of this stuff around. I need about a tablespoon of lime juice and a tablespoon of orange juice. And I'm actually just gonna quarter this orange because the rest is gonna be my dessert tonight after dinner. So we only need about, we may not even need that much. But let's see. I think I can get this lime in here. I need a tablespoon of this. Wow, it's almost exactly the size of the press. So we'll get a tablespoon of lime. Okay, move stuff out of the way. And then we need about a tablespoon of orange juice. And yes, I've washed my hands. Okay, next we need a teaspoon or about 1 clove of chopped garlic. This is a half teaspoon of cumin, a 1/4 teaspoon of oregano, not Mexican oregano, just Greek oregano. All right. Salt and pepper. And what am I missing? Oh, the cilantro on the cutting board. Huh? All right, so we need a tablespoon of fresh cilantro. I've got a little more than I need. So we're just going to move this out of the way as well. And then some fresh pepper. It says 1/8 teaspoon, so I just go a good sized pinch. Same with some kosher salt. And then let's actually try and whip this up. I think I need, oh, there's my spoon. Ha! I guess I missed that. All right. I'm making a mess here. Well, I guess it is my kitchen, right? Now, I would make this, if you can, in advance, just because the juices will thin this out some. But you can see there's your Mojo Mayo, okay? Same flavors that's in the pork. So we're gonna set this aside. And I am just gonna wipe down my station here for a second. If you'll bear with me for 30 seconds or less. I'm sorry, I have to clean my station. It drives me nuts. Okay, so I have all this sliced. Let's slice our pickles. And I'm just gonna make one sandwich right now, so I'm just gonna worry about slicing probably one pickle. Oh, I need to wipe off that blade. And you can slice them as thick or as thin as you like. It's up to you. That should be enough for one sandwich. Okay. And then we need our bread. Again, this is a very cost-effective, especially if you have leftovers. You can just use ham, any kind of ham. You don't have to have the Spam. I'm using this up because it's leftover live and I have it left over. The Mojo Pork makes a delicious sandwich. And that's really what I made it for originally. It is pork shoulder. And so I'm just gonna slide that in like that. And then you could just quarter this straight on, but I can't help myself. I have to do a slight bias. It's just the chef in me doesn't let me do basic. So we're not gonna need all these right now. We didn't quite slice that all the way through enough. There we go. Now you can hinge cut this. You can cut it all the way through. It's totally up to you. Matter of fact, I think I will. Okay, So first thing is on the top, the top, I'm going to put a teaspoon of my stone ground mustard. Doesn't take a lot. I like stone ground. You can use yellow. You can use Dijon. I like stone ground because it gives it that pop of like a horseradish flavor. It's really good with pork. Okay, done with that. Then we need our Mojo Mayo. Now the Mojo Mayo is 1 to 2 tablespoons in the recipe. How much? It depends on how moist you want your sandwich. The drier the pork, the more mayo I would put on there to recover for the pork. This stuff's pretty good, so I'm just going to go a little over a tablespoon or so. Let's see if you can see that. Okay. So then we want a slice of cheese. I can never remember which is the bottom. There it is. Slice of cheese. About 1.5 ounces of pork. Now you can see this has a fair amount of fat in it, but it's very enjoyable once you heat it up. If you feel you need to cut it off, cut it off. And then the Spam, about the same amount, about 1.5 ounces. And I'm just gonna lay on at this probably about 5 slices. Then pickles. Bum, 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 bum. I think, and this one's for the chef. A slice of cheese and the top. And that's it. So this is your sandwich. Now this should compress by almost 1/3 inside the Panini grill. And depending upon your brand of a Panini grill, you could also do this in a cast iron. All you'd have to do is, ideally, you could either put it in a pan and then put another heavy pan on top of it, and then toast it on one side, flip it over, toast the other side. You don't have to have a Panini grill. It is beneficial. So I'm putting some butter on here to help with browning and crusting. Probably about, I'm going to say about 2 teaspoons a side. Now, if you do have a Panini press, you know the challenge, which is the press has a hinge base in the back. And because of that, it's going to want to press like a wedge, okay? So you have to lend it a helping hand. Doesn't matter top or bottom, they're built the same. So you don't need to spray this with the butter. If you don't want to use that butter, you could use pan spray on this. It'll work just as well. I usually start it in the front third. I need to wipe up my station. And then I'm going to go down with the press and see how it leans towards the top. I'm actually going to aid it in staying level. And as I do, I'm giving it a good press. And it looks pretty good. But again, I might, because the tines or the ribs on the panini run this way, I might push it back after I get it started so that this is more level. I hope you're all doing well today. This is really a quick one. It's delicious, simple. If you just have leftover pork and leftover ham, I mean, I would definitely go with the smoked Swiss if you can get it. I smoke a lot of my own cheeses. And smoking that Mojo pork just takes it to another level. All right, let's take a look here real quick. And you can see, let's see, you can see a little bit. I'm going to slide it back and give it a chance to do this. And I'm going to move this cutting board and see if I can get you a better view. Let's see here. if I don't burn myself. How's that? Okay, good. Well, it doesn't, can't see a whole lot, but you will. I'm going to move this back for right now. I actually might need to push it back. We'll see. Hope everybody's doing well. I think I said that already, but it's true. Next week we've got coming up, what do we have coming out next Friday? Next Friday we have a Christmas dinner long form video coming out. It's an alternative to prime rib. It is actually taking thick sliced beef shanks. If you've seen those, you go to a Costco near you, at least at mine, they have them in the meat case at $5.99 a pound. Well, that meal, and I'll show you from start to scratch, that meal runs about 50 bucks for 6 to 8 people, where a prime rib would cost you these days, what, almost $200 by the time you get done? Yeah, times are tough. Money doesn't go as far. So I wanted to give you guys a nice, elegant dinner that you could serve with family that's, you know, reasonably priced. These days, I don't even know what reasonably is. All right, let's take a look. Okay, can you see these little ridges? And if you look at this, it's getting, the cheese is melting. Let's take a look at the bottom, because we don't want to overcook this. Oh yeah. All right, we're gonna give it just another minute or two. It's pretty darn close. I like cutting it at a bias because when I do, excuse me, when I do cut it, I then cut it at another bias, so you get like triangles. It's kind of easier to eat, and it presents a little bit better than just a straight cut. People eat with their eyes, so I want to make sure it's presentable. Got a little bit of cilantro all over the place, didn't I? All right. Here we go. I'm feeling like all that sizzling is telling me, let's get this fork here. So we're going to get a spatula because I want to be able to show you closer up. Give me 1 second. Again, moving. All right. So here's the finished sandwich. You can see the melty cheese, the nice crusty grill marks. The pork is now almost glistening, if you will. So it's nice and moist. All right, let's take, I know I keep moving this pork cutting board all over the place, but let me bring it back for one more cut. And then, woohoo, it's definitely hot. You can see it's slid a little bit. That's one of the challenges. All right, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this corner to corner. We'll see. I'm going to get it started. I don't know if you can hear that crunch, but let's take a look. And there you go. Look at that. Thinly sliced pork, Spam, homemade pickles, smoked Swiss cheese, Dijon mustard, and our Mojo Mayo. Yeah. Are you jealous? I'm kind of drooling right now. Okay, I'm gonna take a bite. Let's see if you can hear it crunch. Can you hear that crunch? Let's try it again. So good. Oh my gosh. Now I need to wipe my hands. And that's it. Super simple, really delicious. Just 5 ingredients once you've made the mayo anyway. With that Mojo Mayo, it gives you that little citrus, a little bit of cilantro flavor. It's really good. Well, thank you for coming today. I enjoyed showing this to you, and I hope to see you next Sunday for our next Leftover Live. We'll be talking to you later. Later, Gator.